All right. Howdy, partners. We're back. Had a little cat herding going on here. Welcome back to our last broadcast for the 2018 period of review. Today we are covering organized play. And just as a warning, I am here hosting the period of review. I'm Maggie Geppert, Jedzia Dax 8 on the boards, currently executive officer and current chairman of the board. I'm here hosting today because Chad C, 7 of mine, had a family emergency pop up late last night, so that I was unable to get a substitute host in on time. So hope you guys will forgive the lack of the independent host for this weekend's 2 broadcasts. So this is Organized Play. I want to welcome so I'll start off by saying Chris Donstaby, our overall director of Organized Play, is coming back from a tournament, so he should be popping in at any moment. So I'll start with I'll introduce our other 2 guests. We have our European Organized Play coordinator, Julius Melhart. So Julius, say hello.
Hello, everyone.
He is Claricel TOB on the boards, and will be hosting Worlds 2019 in Vienna, Austria this year. So I personally am looking forward to meeting Jules in person this year in Vienna, and I hope other people will be. I know there are some other people who are flying in for that. If you didn't check the article, there is a big incentive for travelers this year, thanks to Old Core for his generous donation. Also, we have our North American Organized Play coordinator, Michael Van Bremen. So, Michael, introduce yourself.
Hi.
Michael is the Ninja Scott on the boards. And like I said, Chris Donstaby, Laura, will be here as soon as he is able. So I guess we'll go ahead and kick things off here. I grabbed some questions from that were sort of general questions that I saw in one of the other periods of review threads. So I want to start with that. So maybe I'll start with Julius. What have you done this year that you feel contributed most to the community? And what have you done that you feel was most destructive to the community, if anything?
I think the number of high-level tournaments this year, last year, 2018, in Europe was really great. We had 8 big tournaments over the whole continent, and I think that was something really good and something really special. And of course, this year with Worlds in Vienna, it will be another really great thing. Destructive thing, maybe I wasn't as destructive as I should have been in some certain ways. Maybe I'll point them out later. But I don't know, maybe if I should have talked to some European guys very active at the boards to calm a little bit down, maybe, but I don't think that I've done anything really destructive for the game. Maggie, you are mute.
Sorry about that. All right, so let's go and I'll follow up. There's a couple of follow-ups on that. If you could do one thing to improve your area of responsibility, what would it be, and how would that impact your area?
Michael, would you like to start?
I know. Well, if Julius doesn't have anything, that's fine. Maybe we can move over to Michael and say what do you feel about your contribution, etc.
Well, as far as on my side is concerned, as far as North American high-level scheduled events, I think everything went according to plan, at least as far as 2018 is concerned. We had a number of high-level events throughout the continent. We had a lot of time ahead of times available, so that people who could travel would have the opportunity to travel to them. In terms of anything destructive or anything like that, I tend to try and stay out of people's way. So I don't really have anything on, at least as far as North America is concerned. The only side that I feel that I could have done more on would be online play. But we don't really have an official person for that. So it's more of a, when someone thinks of it, then it would get resolved. But currently, that's the one thing that I would see as a downside of my time this year.
Yeah, and actually, I've got a number of questions down the road for online about online play, because that was a pretty popular topic with people asking questions. And we have, just to mark this out for the continuing committee, we have recruited Thomas Camiora to be the ambassador for online play, doing a lot of stuff within the dojo. And we are one of my goals for this year, just as the chair and executive officer, is to really work with TK to get more visibility for online play. I think that is an important area we can grow, and is growing, because we see what's happening on the dojo's Discord channel, things like that. Okay. So have any outside factors impacted either of your abilities to do your jobs as you want to?
Well, for me, it's more of having time. I basically my work day is roughly for about 12 hours per day, 5 days a week. So for me, it's more of just not having enough time in the day to do everything I'd like to do, whether it's getting more things done in an organized play sort of way, or simply playing in more online tournaments, or getting decks ready for in-person tournaments. If I could have a longer day, that would make things a lot easier.
Yeah, okay. For me, time and money would also be a little bit of a problem. I'm really sorry that I wasn't able to attend at all the big European tournaments in 2018. Maybe it will get better, but my time is also very, very limited, very short, and yeah, that's. I hope no one is mad at me because I'm doing it more from the distance, the organizing thing. Yeah, that's something I regret, but I can't change that by now. Sorry.
Yeah, totally reasonable and understandable in terms of time. So let's see. I think I know some of the answers to these questions, even if you guys might not. I've got a couple on the organized play guide revision, but I'm gonna leave that for Chris when he gets here. But we had a question about, has there been any talk about making the promos for various events, such as regionals, have something unique on them for first edition? Because second edition adds the regionals text, but the 1E doesn't.
Well, as far as I'm aware, it's difficult to get the line of text on the bottom of the card and still have the ability to actually use the card in a tournament. The last time I remember anything being modified, like on the text of a card for 1E, was the Starfleet phaser pistol from Worlds in 2010. And that was just simply changing all the text of both the flavor text and the gameplay text into German. I mean, I have no problem against different making cards more unique, like image, besides obviously like the image and the foil and all that fun stuff. But that's just not something OP really does. We'll pick out like the cards that are used for it, but and that's usually the extent of what we do with the foil side of things, at least as far as the major tournaments go. Everything that you see on there, that is all the wonderful work of art, because they do amazing stuff, and we just say, here, please make this card better looking, and they say, okay, sure, we'll do that. That's kind of the extent of what we do with it.
Yeah, and for first edition, it's really tough to add something to the lore box, because so many cards, the lore actually has gameplay implications. So we can't take the lore out of the first edition cards, and so that's why we don't have that for the regionals and the masters for first edition. The tournament series, if you guys have ever noticed that, have the A, B, C in the little box where the set icon is. That'll tell you which tournament series those are in. So we can do that, but I don't think there's enough room in that little box for the master stuff. Yeah, I know that's not really a OP question, but I found it in the thread and it hadn't really been addressed anywhere else yet. Let's see. Do you guys have any role in setting up achievements with the achievement system?
I wish, because then I would know all the ones I don't have yet. I mean, no, we don't have any role in that. That's done by Rogue and the programmers. So we don't really have anything like that. I mean, I'd love to know what they are and when the new ones are added, because that's practically all I play all year round is decks for achievements. So as far as like getting it more well known out there, the only thing I can think of would be whenever they're added for a post somewhere on the board or an article or something like that says, here's all the new achievements that have been put up. But the only way I know when they are is when I go into the achievements section of the board and on the site and actually scroll through and look for every single one that I don't have on my list.
I find it.
Oh, hey, there's Chris. Yay! Welcome everybody welcome to Chris Sonsby, Lore, our director of organized play. Hey Chris, how'd the tournament go today?
Long, obviously. I think our first two rounds went to time, so we were kind of behind, but got it done in time to get here a little bit late. Sorry about that.
All good. It's all good. So we were talking about achievements just now, but I was seeing if organized play had any role in achievements, because that was one of the questions that came up in the thread. But I think Michael pretty much got that answered. Okay. Since you're here now, I wanted to go back. The first round of questions I had was a general set of questions and I also asked this in the omnibus period of review. What have you done this year that you feel contributed most to the community? And what have you done this year that you feel was most destructive?
Well, I think dropping the number of players from 4 down to 3 was probably the most important thing. We had a number of people who had pitched that idea going in the past. And at the end of the day, I think we as a group just decided it doesn't hurt anything, really. It just helps some of those local tournaments and local player groups happen and continue to thrive. I think the British group, the Hoskins team, is now still playing because they're at, I think, 3. And I know of a couple other areas I saw tournaments that have run 3-person events. We actually had to run one here one time when we had some people cancel. So I think that's probably the one that contributed the most. Detrimental. I know I can come off as a bit forward on the forums, and there have been some times where I've posted a little bit out of frustration, and I try to couch that, but to a degree. But I know that I need to be very conscious of what I say, because that's a reflection on the CC and our group too.
All right. So as a follow-up to that, this was a 4-question sequence. If you could do any one thing to improve your area of responsibility, what would it be, and how would it impact that?
Improve my area of responsibility. I think that having some type of knowledge of the achievements coming out would help. You know, if I could be in multiple places at the same time, I'd love to be in the warehouse and know what foils are getting done, so I can know what to promote. I'm not sure what else I could do. I guess that's kind of a interesting question. I have to think on it a little bit more.
I have something to add. I think it would be very nice if at least the three of us would have more specific informations about when new expansions will be released, and probably to schedule some release events and something like that. Not the general time frame, but really the dates. Okay, 2 months in advance. Yes, in 2 months this new first edition set will come out. Probably, would you like to do something special?
That's a
Yeah,
good
actually,
point.
that's a fantastic idea. That is a fantastic idea. And now that we have the regular board meetings and more communication between first edition and second edition and the rest of the departments, that might be something that could happen this year. So, Chris, let's see about making sure that we can work on that.
Sorry to interrupt. And on the other hand, maybe if some major tournament is already scheduled and a new expansion would come out this week, probably we should think about bringing it out 1 week earlier so the new cards could be used.
Yeah, or the other side, push it out a week so that you don't mess up the meta when people are ready for a certain meta, and then you have new game. Yep, that's a good point.
Okay, and so the last of the series then is what outside factors have impacted your area of interest? And you talked about this a little bit, knowing when the tournaments, knowing when sets are going to drop. Anything else you can think of? Outside
in like within the construct of the game, or like outside an influence?
I'm not sure. Well, maybe within the context of the continuing committee, like what sort of things, or just life stuff, even.
I'm trying to think. Run that by me. Run the whole question by me, then. If I'm just seeing it from the CC's perspective.
Okay. So, what outside factors have impacted your area of responsibility?
Well, I think forum behavior is probably towards the top of the list. I know that tends to inflame people. You're very passionate. Sometimes that influences attendance. People go or don't go based on some of that stuff. I frequently tell our local players, you know, if the forums are frustrating, continue to play, but quit the forums. Other areas, to the logistics perspective of shipping and prize kits and knowing when achievements are live, when prize kits are live, that definitely has an influence on us as a team.
Yeah. I think on the board, I would like to add something. I have a number of 5 to 6 people that I managed to get interested in the game during the last year. Not only myself, another player as well. They looked into the boards, read something, and then they decided, no, I won't start with the game because what's going on the forums is so horrible and so idiotic that they quit the game even before they started. And that's a real problem. And it's not, and I'm quite sure that worldwide we have a lot of people who will not start the game because of the tone on the boards. And that's really, really horrible and frustrating. And I know also a lot of people, a lot of active players who are not reading the boards because of what is written there. And that's yeah, horrible.
Toxic's probably the best word choice. Is just behavior is ultimately unacceptable if we want to try to continue to encourage new players. And I know, speaking to Jules' point, I've noticed that the Star Trek CCG page on Facebook has got a lot of people who we know are players. They're not posting on the forums anymore. They're just kind of in other areas of the internet, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, I've noticed, just generally speaking, forums are kind of on the way out, just in terms of how people communicate with each other over the internet generally. Like some of the other forums that I'm members of are really like the traffic's much lower, and everybody's like, oh yeah, we're talking with each other on Facebook. And that's a little frustrating for me personally, just because I don't use Facebook. Like I have reasons why I don't go on Facebook, and so I feel like I'm missing out. So actually, I kind of like the Discord channel, although I forget that I'm a member of the Discord channel just to go and chat with people where they're at. But yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's so hard to. It's been shown it's so hard to find that balance between, on the code of conduct. Where is the what's the right balance of enforcement on the code of conduct? And I've been really upset with personally just with the ugliness on the boards lately.
It's
and
just
I'm not
exhausting.
sure. It is exhausting, and I'm not entirely. Funny story. When Chris got back from his vacation, he's like, "What do I need to be reading? What's most important to read on the board?" And I just told him to mark the entire buzz as red. Like, don't even bother. Don't even bother. Oh, but you can go and read my nerdy Duolingo thread because it's hilarious. So
I will do that.
All right, but yeah, it's been a tough nut to crack, and we're not entirely certain where to go with the code of conduct and how we can get people to conform to a standard of behavior that not everybody in the room believes in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think there's a good answer. I just think Jules' point is valid. We are doing a disservice to certain players who are just not interested in reading that kind of crap. They want to go to a Star Trek forum to learn about the game, talk about the game, and not get bogged down with personal, attacks, whether it's to them or whether it's just inner people chirping at each other. I don't want to read that either. I don't blame them.
Although I will say I have learned to love the kayfabe threads in 2E gameplay, although not everybody does. So there is that aspect of things. Okay, so let's see. So we had a couple of related questions to each other. When will the next organized play guide revision be released, and what are you planning on including? For instance, is the no such thing as luck tournament still a thing?
I believe that the board members know this. Jules and Michael may also, but so that's my winter project. The February and part of March, I'm trying to finish that up. I've already started it a little bit, but the bigger thing is I want to have that finished and published, hopefully before regional start, so everybody has a kit in front of them. They know what to expect. I wouldn't expect there to be wholesale changes. I mean, there's not going to be a ton of just. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think James Hodson did a good job writing a big format. Speaking to specific formats, my intention is to kind of re-examine some of the ones that we don't use, and in general, drop them all logistically under limited formats, right? So the way the tournament software works now is you can select if it's a first edition tournament, second edition tournament, your rule set, your format, whatever. So like, to me, a limited format might be Excelsior, it might be Hall of Fame, it might be Klingon Warlords, it might be no such thing as luck. There are a lot of things that you can do under that basket. And I think going forward, if you can get those events sanctioned, I don't really have a problem with them being even as high as a regional. And I would even argue, a Masters or maybe a Nationals. Let's say Jules has somebody who really wants to run a Hall of Fame tournament, and he wants to give them an exception to run a Hall of Fame versus Standard. That's fine. I mean, I just want people to play what they want to play. But I think, as Michael maybe have reiterated to us and has said, as someone who travels a lot, Worlds and Continental should pretty much always be Standard and OTF, respectively, because those are tournaments drawing people hypothetically from all over the country. We all need to play by the same set of rules. Whether that, ban list is 2 cards, which I've seen before. Some player bases just you don't like this one or that one, or a ban list that's more exhaustive. we all need to know that we're playing with the right set of cards for second edition, and for first edition, OTF rules seems to be the running way of doing things going right forward. Maggie is muted. She was drinking.
Yeah.
Oh, drinking, yes, of course.
We're all drinking, aren't we?
Yeah.
Michael has water.
I have water.
Yeah, Chris, I've got some Brother Justice from Jeremy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
CC-related alcohol. So,
I would
yeah.
like to add one thing about the band list, especially the first edition one. I really, really hope that the rules masters will hear the discussion about quantum incursions. This crap card is around so long, and all the top players of the world are complaining about it. Why the hell is this card still in the game? I don't get it. Really.
Well, I can say, because I can see those back the back end forums for first edition, that there is a lot of heavy work going on quantum incursions right now, and some big debate. So that's all I know, and all I can say about that. But thank you for making your displeasure known publicly.
I mean, it's a card that is definitely very polarizing. I'm a fan of it today, Jules, just because I won a tournament today, because James couldn't pass it. He attempted mission 3 times, couldn't crack it. My deck was terrible against it, and I never saw it, so I managed to win. But so I get it, man. It's a card that I don't like either.
Yeah, but there are so many affiliations unplayable with that one. Dominion, for example.
I did it with KCA today. I got to roll a 5 or a 6, or I'm screwed. Never hit it.
All right, so let's see. And okay, so there was so we were talking about you were talking about some of the scenario stuff or limited formats. Nate Weiniger asked, he's guessing around 25% of high-level events are Hall of Fame, with a little bit of Excelsior thrown in. That's in the U.S., not worldwide. Right. Yep. Are there any plans to allow Hall of Fame to be... Trying to parse this very long paragraph from Nasty Nate. Historically, Standard Constructed has been main event for TUI, but I could see that changing as the Hall of Fame format spreads across the country. Should he be learning Hall of Fame? I think you already answered this, actually.
Well, I mean, I kind of sort of did, and I don't want to be misconstrued. We're certainly willing to let them run as Masters events, but at the end of the day, Hall of Fame is asking 35 people what cards they want to use, and we have a much bigger community than 35 people. And if everybody knows that you're playing Standard can be played by 150 to 300 people. We all know what those rules are. Just basic math to me says that's not a format that I want for Continentals or Worlds.
All right, so let's see. So another related to the organized play guide, has any thought been given to a revision of the tournament code of conduct? Also,
yep. You and I know. Well, you said you and I know. We've talked about it. We're going to roll that into the organized play guide, I believe, because it just seems silly to have 2 different documents. The code of conduct itself for tournament play is really kind of a sticky thing, because all games currently, all games are final once they're recorded, once they're entered in. Both people sign their tournament scorecards. Cheating is certainly something that I take very seriously, but I am constantly of the opinion that our players are such that they don't want to cheat if it creates a negative play experience to an opponent, and then that opponent quits the game, right? Like, we cannot cannibalize our players cheating. And we all need to know that it's important that we all play the game in a respectful manner and try to make sure everyone enjoys the games that they're being played. So the best way I can say that is I'm looking at it. I'm certainly trying to see where we can put some teeth where we currently don't have any. But at the end of the day, it is definitely an honor system thing. Michael knows this. We played against 100 times. You could always get away with shuffling your hand somewhere by accident or putting people here that aren't in that crew. It's just simple mistakes. It's the willful cheating that we need to make sure has no place in the game. I mean, Michael, you've played probably more places than any of us. Do you have anything to add on that topic?
Not really. I mean, I will fully admit I am not the most visually observant person. I'm also not one of the most cleanest of people when it comes to playing in any one, whether it's 1D, 2D, or triples. It's so for me, of having things been in wrong places, sure, that happens to me a bunch. Sometimes I'm allowed to take it back, sometimes I don't, in which case it doesn't matter to me. But I will fully admit I have never seen cheating that I've been aware of. I have pointed things out after games have been done where things were done incorrectly, but I'm not going to like interrupt a game and say, "Oh, that's not where that was," or anything like that. That's not my role. It's not my job, whether I'm running the tournament or not. I want to make sure that one, the game is done correctly, and if I have an ability to do it after the fact, in terms of saying that, hey, for next time, you need to make sure you're aware of this. Just like if someone with a brand new person was playing and didn't realize that they don't have to use like all 8 counters as surprise party or whatever, or you have to remember to draw enough at the end of your turn for 1E, things like that. But in terms of like wholesale cheating, I don't see it happening in this game on an intentional basis. So while it's good to have something like that in the system, I don't think it's going to get used, and I hope it never does.
Yeah, the point of hoping it doesn't get used is really important. I think if any of us had either been victims of wholesale cheating or maybe even been cheaters ourselves, we wouldn't be here today. We would have been run out of town or we would have quit. I mean, I just think that the player group in general, as far as gamers go, we're all pretty stand-up people, I think. And I was pleasantly surprised when I ran the online tournament. We didn't have any rules questions. No one questioned anything about rules, about cheating, about anything. And we were very, very concerned going in that could be something people could do. You just stress up front, don't be that guy who ruins it for everybody else. And for the most part, as far as I know, no one was that guy.
I, for one, just as a side note, now that I've played First Edition a little more in the recent days, I find myself wanting to draw a card at the end of my turn for Second Edition. I have to stop myself.
I'm doing this all the time.
Yeah, it's more fun that way. Kidding.
All right, so next set of questions here. How often is Organized Play in touch with local tournament directors and ambassadors about how they feel the current state of the game or how things are going?
Michael, you wrote a response to that, right?
Well,
take it?
Generally speaking, I either talk to people, most of the time I talk to them in person over the course of a year, and just because I tend to travel a bit. So for me, I know I haven't talked to everyone. I'm not that commutative, but I'm always want to hear what people have to say, even if I don't ask them directly. Usually, I just read complaints on the board, and then I sort of wait to see what the result of that is, and kind of go from there. But yeah, generally speaking, I end up usually talking to everyone at some point or another over the course of a year just to see how things are going.
Everyone they can come to me, whatever they need, and they are doing it. So I'm very often in Facebook chats, or we have a WhatsApp group with the First Edition guys in Germany and things like that. I'm quite in touch with each and everyone in Europe who is still running tournaments. So I have no idea how I should improve that one.
I would just say I think both Michael and Jules do a terrific job of being present on their continent and knowing that, and keeping their ear to the ground. I'm doing what I can with the Australia group, and I've reached out to Greg a lot. He, and Kieran at different times about what can I do to help you. How can we continue to make sure you guys get what you need? But as far as local guys, if there's a problem at the local level with an ambassador, whether it's his play group or him himself or herself, we need to hear about it. Reach out to us. We can't address problems that we don't know. And I think it would be foolish to assume that we're contacting all these people constantly to say, is there anything wrong? I mean, I think basic human nature is just, if you don't hear anything, you assume it's fine, right? So all I can say was to just kind of add to that is, if there's any issue on the local level, please reach out to your continental coordinator, or if you're in Australia, reach out to me. I'll do what we can. They'll do what they can to make it right.
All right. So in the vein of things happening on a local level, what is OP's position on house rules?
Well, right now, you only need 24 hours notification, and we do expect 3 people to be playing. If you're playing Klingon Warlords, or you're playing, house rules with a gentleman's agreement not to use a certain card, enemy, sorry, had to cough there. We can't really enforce that in the organized play arena, at least from the top down. But again, as everybody agrees to whatever it is, and it's a local tournament, I'm all for it. I just want to see people to play, and I think Jules and Michael both feel the same way, right? I mean,
yeah, play the game, please.
Yeah, just please play.
The house rules at Kaiserfest are quite interesting.
Right, that's what I was thinking of, actually.
I feel like I really want to get to Munich, although I know most of those guys are coming for Worlds. Would not mind going to visit the Kaiser this summer. We'll see about that.
I'm not sure my alcohol content can handle that.
Okay, so we've heard about OP providing support and incentives for kitchen table play. What's happening there?
Aren't you the one that asked that question too?
Well, that wasn't me, but no, that was I can answer.
I know you didn't ask that question. I feel like you could answer that question.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can address that a little bit. We have although this is fallen off my to-do list. Charlie and I have been talking a bit about reworking the promenade, sort of a unified reward store. So take things like Masters points and League points and raffle tickets and mashing everything together so it's just one thing. So if you're playing in a League tournament, you can get these reward points, maybe call them Latinum or something like that. And if we have people reporting in that they're doing kitchen table play, that we could find some way of rewarding people for that's outside of the tournament system. But if you got 3 people hanging out on a Friday night and you're just playing to be playing, put a tournament in the system. Just report out what you're doing. There's you can get achievements, and I know that some people don't really care about ratings and that sort of thing, but it would help. We want to know if people are playing and what people are doing. But yeah, that's one of the back burner projects that's going on right now. That's coming at us when we can. When can the public expect to see rollouts? Dude, I have no idea. That was the follow-up for that one also.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's something we are thinking about. We're cognizant about at the board level. Do you hit the nail on the head? It's just, how does this work, right? We conceptually think this is a great idea. How do we program it into the system? How do we deliver that message? It's going to be a little bit of a process, but by all means, to your point, put an event in the system, call it unsanctioned, call it, you know, the cool tournament or whatever you want to do if you don't care about ratings or don't want it to affect your ratings. Or maybe it's just you and a buddy played heads up. Just put it in the system. I mean, at the end of the day, we just want to see who's playing. And we want to know how we can help those players continue to play.
Not to mention, it'd be nice to know where you're playing. Because
Right.
because people ask on the board or on Facebook or whatever, where can I play? And if we don't know that there's like, if there's a a guy in Portland and a guy in Vancouver, and they don't know about each other, how can we let them know if no one knows that you guys are playing? So
Right.
more the merrier. If we can find people and have this weird connection to get people to play together, all the better.
Yeah, but there's a problem with new locations. If you enter a new location into the tournament system, it takes weeks until it shows up, if it ever shows up. This is something that needs some adjustment.
Yep, I talked to James Heaney about that a little bit today, and he's aware of it. He's trying to address those concerns as they come up. Kind of a tie together. So like Rich Joachim, I think is how you say his name, outsider on the forums. He runs tournaments in Concord, California. He's been doing it forever. I don't see him on the forums. They don't post deck lists. I have no idea about anything other than players than what little I see. But they're a play group that's a little bit isolated, but they are still continuing to play. They're posting their results. That's what I would love to have in some of these other smaller groups. You don't have to be really active in the CC to post tournaments, to play in tournaments, and just to let us know, hey, I'm in wherever and we play. That way we can direct other new players coming in to those groups.
Okay, so next question. Why do we have regionals squished into a 3-month time period, April through June? Couldn't we run regionals and leagues parallel?
Do either of you want to answer that one? You want me to do it?
I don't really, at least me personally, I don't see a reason why it couldn't be done. I don't care necessarily when the quote-unquote regional period is. And if people want to have it overlap with their leagues, by all means. I really don't care when the regional season is. I just want to see as many regionals as possible for as many different people as possible.
I think logistically, it happened in that 3-month period because of I don't, and I speak for I think everybody. We don't want a regional to be run without the prizes. So you've got to have some lead time for the warehouse to get those prizes made and have them shipped to the event ahead of time. That said, I agree with Michael. Maybe next year we say you can start them on March 1st. Assuming our satellite production offices can handle that, who are doing promo. But more to the point of the question, I don't know that a lot of extra time matters. We've had a ton of regionals get run in June. They get run at the end of the period. There are usually not very many that get run in April. And yes, we could expand that window, but the reality of the situation needs to be who is going to actually run them, and is it, or the cost benefit, does it make sense to do so? If there's an easy cost and our satellite production office can get those regional foils finished in time for the 5 or 6 regions that are going to happen during March as part of league season, great. But at the end of the day, we still historically have had a big backlog of events in June. So pushing the window further up into February and March may or may not do anything. I mean, yes, we can get the regional article announcement up a little bit earlier, even earlier than we did this year. And this year it was earlier than the years prior. If we're trying to get that regional announcement article out early January, okay. But again, people historically have tended to procrastinate. They'll get an application in May for an event in June. We can't control that.
Yeah, and I can just let you guys know for for in terms of prize support, if you're wondering, now that I know more about the warehouse, the regionals foils have been printed and they are being assembled. So just so you know where that is, that's where the warehouse is right now. The warehouse is trying very hard to make it so that we have those things done a little bit earlier, so it's just ready to go and we're not scrambling. So that's one of our goals for this upcoming year. Something we think we can do because we have the extra warehouses now. The extra production centers.
So, knock on wood, it doesn't sound like any regionals will go without their prizes. That's more reason to get your app in today, right?
Yep. Put in your applications, people. All right. So, let's see. The next thing I have on here, and this is first off, I want to preface this set of questions with a apology to Kieran for forgetting these questions were in the second edition period of review, and I would. If I didn't see them until somebody cross-posted these to the OP one. I would have asked these questions at the omnibus earlier today if I had remembered that they were there. So I apologize to Kieran for not asking them at the omnibus. But so this is more of a general question. Are there plans to implement targets for organized play, such as how many people came to those events versus last year? New communities developed. How many communities became dormant all versus last year? Are we going to start putting metrics in?
As somebody who monitors it pretty closely, and I know historically I've pointed out in other period of reviews the player runoff. From 2017 to 2018, we did a lot better than we had been doing. I want to say TUI either held strong or gained a couple players in 2018 versus 2017. And 1E, there was a little bit of turnoff, speaking to Jules's point about other outside things that we cannot control of why people would may or may not continue playing. As far as metrics, I pay a lot of attention to how many people are at Masters events, how many people are at Continentals, what's a realistic goal for various events. And I mean, I may not be writing it down, but if an event is a success, for example, Jules had Sweden ran an event last year. There wasn't a big player base, but a bunch of people came to Sweden to play. Yes. And Jules asked me, "Do you want to run something in Sweden again?" I was like, "Hell yeah, we do." I mean, if people are going to go there and play, by all means, give them an event. I can't say hard metrics, but I am very aware of who is playing, where, and when, and who should get an event versus who shouldn't get an event if we have to pass. I'm really quick to say, Minnesota doesn't need one. We'll give it to South Dakota like we did this year. Or Maggie, you've done that too. You're quick to say, give it to somebody else. We'll survive without one this year. But as the bidding process takes shape, and we start looking in 2020 at people bidding for Continentals, people bidding for Worlds, I'm hoping that those boots on the ground in the local area will drive up attendance in advance of those events so we can see clearly that area deserves a big event. Or not. And then we know that they don't.
Yeah, and for my part, I don't think I'm going to share. Going to share a website with you guys real fast. I'm going to do a screen share. I don't think that the CC is ever going to be able to do this. So this is my college where I teach, and we have a website of these are our metrics, and we're on target for that. And I don't think that we're ever going to be able to make that sort of thing happen here. That's just oh shoot! I always forget to press the actual share button when I do that. All right, so I know it's horrible. So here, this is
a black hole for a second.
This is my school's website, and I'm not sure we're ever going to be able to do this. Actually, mostly because of manpower and programming, but also because time. Yeah, I know. I'll throw up the volunteer time thing, but yeah, this is what my school does. We have targets and progress and all that sort of thing. So this is what we do at my school, and I don't think that we're going to ever be able to do that for the continuing committee. All right, so let's see. I think that
I just don't want to dismiss his question out of hand. We are, I think, as a group, aware of groups that are fading. I know I've personally reached out to a number of TDs who have been inactive for a while and said, hey, what do you think about running a local tournament? What do you think about jumping into leagues? Maybe getting your guys going again. I've attended a couple tournaments for other games and then told them, hey, you guys still want to play track? You don't want to play track? Try to reignite that fire, so to speak. There are groups out there where the embers are down, but they're not out. And in other areas, they are out. You only have a finite amount of free time, and if you're really into Star Wars Destiny and you know that you can play in a tournament next week and have big cash prizes, you might play that over a track tournament. We can't control decision making in that regard. All we can do is try to make our game attractive to the players that play it and continue to reach out to people who we knew did play it to see if we can reignite them and get them to get their fire going again for our game.
All right, good. Thank you. All right, so the last set of questions I have are all around online play. So we got about 15 minutes till this is run an hour. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start hopping into those. Since the last period of review, what steps has organized play taken to support and bolster online play?
Michael, why don't you take that? You play online as much as I do.
Well, there's obviously the lowered, the lower the threshold for how soon a tournament can be put in. There's the lowered the number of people necessary to have a sanctioned tournament, and we've increased the number of high-level events that are played online, from the online masters, regionals, etc.
I think that both of us were pretty early on Discord, right? On TK's group. My understanding is TK is now an online ambassador. That had not been a position that was filled before that. I'm not sure if these are his questions or not, but
yeah, they are.
Okay, he's an online ambassador. I think we're two of the three of us, or maybe all three or four of us, are on Discord. We acknowledge that it's a great way for people to jump in and play casual games. I appreciate a lot of his efforts. He's been doing a great job with the casual side too. The casual leagues where you're just keeping track of games played every month is a great way for people to test decks. I did that all last year. I tested decks in the winter and then played them in high-level events. This year I've rotated back to the actual online league, playing 2E to try to kick the rust off of my second edition game. And I can't speak highly or say enough about what he has done to keep online play going. From an organized play perspective, to Michael's point, we've got an online masters that we're almost certainly going to run again next year. Last year we didn't do it. No one ever did it before then. So I feel like with that and with lowering the threshold and time limits, people can now play an online tournament with 24 hours advance notice. Couldn't do that before. I think incrementally we're doing what we can to help him. But at the end of the day, if he's the online ambassador, it's kind of a little bit on him to just keep those people interested. And I think he's doing a good job of that.
And actually, I think you hit on most of the questions that were in here. This one's kind of an interesting thing. That's TK. I've tried my best to create incentives such as personalized badges, avatars for winning or for winners or participants, my own Tribbles lifetime tracking rating system or players. What would you / the CC be willing to do to help me expand on these ideas?
I think a little bit of that ties back to your casual play reward store, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I think that this is, and I've said this before, I think back in the Omnibus one as well, that this is an area that we have neglected and that we should look into more. And so we've been talking about this on and off for the last couple of board meetings, that we do really want to encourage the online play system. This came up. We're trying to get the Discord, the dojo's Discord channel into the website to replace the current chat room. And there's some technical issues there, but Chris Lobin is working on it, and I think that will be a big area of improvement if we can get the Discord channel integrated into the for that. I think and the as you mentioned, having the reward store would be really helpful there. And the other ones, let's see. Where have you failed in promoting online play? I'll admit that we let the dojo labs languish by not acknowledging its existence in the past, and that's a place that we're making up for that now.
I think a little bit of that predates my appointment, but I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. It does. The dojo, I don't think it was active hardly at all in 2017.
Okay.
At least by my recollection. Let's see. Can we add alternatives to the organized play guide additional to just Skype for online games?
That, I think, is one of the easiest fixes. Currently, I know it says just Skype, but I talked to our local players about this a little bit today too. Whether it's Discord, Skype, cell phone, rotary phone, smoke signal, I don't give a shit. If you can communicate with your opponent and play online, however you guys agree to do it, go ahead. I mean, that's going to be the easiest fix in there. It'll just say some type of voice communication platform that you both have.
In person works too.
Yeah. The Van Griemens have played each other online in the same room before.
It's scary.
I have occasionally found myself texting my husband while I'm upstairs and he's in the basement, and then I'm like, oh no, this has to stop. I need to walk downstairs and see my husband in person.
Well,
so the fact that you guys sit in the same room and play online games together just tickles me pink.
Well, I honestly, there's one more point I think we want to make about online play is it's a great way to stave off attrition. When player bases run below now 3 players and there's only 2 guys, they can still stay active. They can stay plugged in. You've got Oliver Thust, who I don't think has had a player base near him forever. Jules knows him in person. He plays online all the time. He's Oliver Thust.
Yeah.
I don't think he has a player base near him. He's survived by playing online, and those are the type of players that online play can keep engaged in the game. And I'm sure Michael feels the same way. I have played so many people in great games, met Russians through online play, Germans online play. It's a great way to play other people who love the game and enjoy it with people who otherwise you wouldn't have the way to do so. I mean, on a winter day, it's great for me to just call up Russia and play a game of Trek. That to me is really fun. So I know online play is not for everybody, but Michael and I are big fans.
So do you guys then bitch about how it's minus 15°C right now here?
Don't get me started on the weather.
This is why I moved to Seattle.
He moved out of the Midwest for that reason.
I moved to the Midwest to be with my wife. I moved out of it because I had sense.
Right. Accurate.
All right, so I'm pulling in any last questions from the... I apologize. I saw a couple of questions in the chat, and then I got logged out for inactivity. So if anybody has any extra questions for organized play, I'll give it a couple of seconds and see if there's anything else that I missed on the question.
Why don't we just do a quick rundown? I mean, Jules, why don't you pimp Worlds a little bit or tell us a little bit about what's going on over in Europe?
Yes.
We can always buy time.
I was waiting for that. Well, the other big tournaments, I've already started another nationals topic on the boards. So each and every European player group who would like to have nationals or nationals or masters could contact me. And well, it's going great so far. We have the second Kaiserfest coming up and some other weird stuff. And as it is for Worlds, it's a great pleasure to have Worlds this year in Vienna in August, if you don't know that. We are planning to make 4 days full of track without any limits because the venue is my own club in Vienna. We don't have to get out, so we could play the night through and without sleep and everything like that.
Just as long as you do let us out. That's the one thing I just want to get that clarified. You know,
If people want to be
Vienna.
Okay, if you want to, you can leave. Yes.
Okay, I snore really loudly. You don't need to hear that.
Yeah. No. All right, Michael. The safety word is banana.
Right. You can come up with a safety word.
Yeah. Well, what else? Everyone who has already been at Jazzland knows how big fun and cheap drinks and stuff like that. It will be a really great time. Right now, our plans will be to make a real Masters event on Thursday. Real Masters means you have to play first and second edition against the same opponent. You have a time frame with 2.5 hours maybe to complete both of the games, 3 rounds. So in fact 6 rounds. And yes, this will be the great thing for Thursday, and then Friday would be first edition day 1. Most likely Saturday second edition day 1, and on Sunday both day 2s. And of course a couple of side events in between. I'm already designing a special first edition Biermeister card for those of you who are interested in playing and drinking at the same time.
Can we drink not beer?
Another dangerous announcement I have to make. I talked with Neil Matthews. He's allowed to make an Aberdeen Anarchy tournament in Vienna without me saying anything against it. So he has all the power he wants to, and well, this would be weird. Yeah.
Hey, Aberdeen Anarchy was one of the highlights of Worlds 2017 for me, or possibly lowlights. I can't tell. But yeah, I look forward to the return.
Yes, and I've already started my monthly informations update with the Travelers pool. I've heard from Joseph that by now only one American has sent him an email, so probably it should be a good idea if you want to be part of that pool that you send him a message.
Personally, we can't until I get my passport renewed because you won't let me into your country until I do.
I let you in.
Tell that to your customs office.
Jules will let you in.
Again, I still want to be able to get out.
Am I the only person who noticed that? Am I the only person that noticed that Jules mentioned cheap drinks? He mentioned the Beermeister, and he mentioned Aberdeen Anarchy in his plug for Worlds. If that doesn't sell you enough, I mean, there's very clearly going to be track debauchery and alcohol involved. What's not to have?
And that's just for
rebates. And rebates for flights.
And rebates, yes. The huge, we can't forget that. Joseph is really generous. I think that's a terrific thing to do. So he's got my kudos and definitely a huge thanks for that. I mean, to that point earlier about we can't really control what other prizes people can get at other games. That's a big prize for our game. So I appreciate that.
I will tell him that if he's not watching the stream. Well, the other informations will be come out during the next month. Probably next month will be accommodations and some travel information, sightseeing and stuff like that. and then a fixed tournament plan, and yes, and well, yeah. We will have a great time. I can assure you that. I remember last Continentals in Vienna, I broke 2 of the Germans, second edition player Germans, played with them a board game after the event was finished until 5 a.m. in the morning, and they had to leave the room at 10, and they, yes, had a little headache after that.
Right. They had a little headache.
It will be a really great time, and I hope no one of you will miss that.
All right. I feel like I ought to end there, but we did have 2 questions in the 2 questions in the chat room. Can a tournament director make their accounts from the same PC without their true name? So if you have people who come and play in a tournament, is it possible to have them listed on the tournament without their true name? And my answer to that is sure. You just don't enter their names in. Like my son has played Tribbles before. He is entered in both as his true name and his board name is Rocket Boy. So you totally can do that. You don't have to put people's real names in. Amber wants to know if we can make all formats count for achievements. I would love that because I would have the Ferengi Hidden Win achievement by now because I won a tournament last December with an all acquisition Ferengi deck. Oh, I should not have spilled that bean, but whatever. I think it's out there. But it was a cool tournament. No, wait, it was bend the rules, so it was unsanctioned. So that I'm just throwing that out there for Rogue. Because he's not here to talk about achievements.
Yeah, and achievements are not organized play as much as we wish it to be. We're not involved in it really.
Yeah, I just want you to make achievements do it.
By the way, I just want to point out that she texted that question to me as well. That she was not in the room. So
right.
Yeah.
All right. So well, let's roll this up because it's been an hour. So Julius, thank you for plugging in Worlds, and just as I was thinking that, of course, that the word plug made me think of the 1E belt in Europe. So that will also make an appearance, I'm sure. Michael, would you like to tell us about any high level play that's coming up here in America soon?
In America, yeah, the first Masters of 2019 is going to be in Manassas, Virginia. That'll be from March 1st to the 3rd, so the first weekend of March. It's the 2E side is going to be Hall of Fame, which just got a new set of cards that are part of that card pool, which, according to the website, has been recently updated, so it should reflect, and just looking at it now, it does reflect it. Otherwise, 1E side is OTF, so normal on that side. The San Diego Masters is the last weekend of March. I don't know which day it's going to be for which yet, but that'll be coming out soon. After that, the South Dakota Masters will be the second weekend of June. That's in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, which does have an airport, FYI. And Nationals in the United States will be at Gen Con, which is August 1st to the 4th. And then there's courses Continentals in Atlanta. That'll be June 21st to the 23rd. And the only other Masters is of course, in Texas, and that's November 7th to the 10th. And those are all I've updated the article that has the listing of all the high-level events. That's updated, but it doesn't show on today's date because I don't know how to do that. But it is updated, and as soon as they get into the term system, they will be flagged accordingly. I just haven't seen them yet to flag them. But that is literally everything for North America, except for Canadian Nationals, which, barring any strange changes, will probably be in Coquitlam, BC, and that'll be usually the weekend either before American Thanksgiving or the weekend after American Thanksgiving. Just depends on things that are, Canadian-y.
All right. Well,
and
thank you.
just to close all real quick, just say Australia. I don't want to lead Australia. They'll be running a Masters, Nationals, I believe, and a Continentals. I talked to Greg and to Kieran, and they felt like the Continentals and a national tournament was about all they needed this year. Dates to be determined, but obviously I will work with Kieran to get those flagged appropriately as well.
All right. Wonderful.
I have to add something. I've just read a post from Neil Matthews. His Aberdeen Anarchy side event will have the nickname the Royal Rumble.
Oh boy.
Chris, you have to come now.
That's
know.
By now.
I kind of want to come now.
Wait, that doesn't sound right.
Let's go past this part. I never said that. Especially not related to Neil Matthew. I don't want him to get that on a loop and record it.
All right. So thank you guys all for participating in the 2018 organized play period of review broadcast. As always, if there are any follow-ups, questions, go to the threads on the board. And just a reminder to anyone viewing this broadcast, voting on the board members for this period of review will happen between February 1st and 8th of 2019. It's going to happen by e-ballot, which is going to get sent to you by email. So please, everyone who wants to, any members who want to vote, so that's members or anyone who has a premium membership, check your premium membership status, folks. Anyone who has an active premium membership can vote in the period of review. Make sure your email addresses are up to date. So thank you all for viewing our broadcast, and we'll see you next year.